It's, I think it's my work. And
Oh yeah, welcome back to the Wilderness Podcast. Yeah, we back. We got a great show for you tonight. The world lies to who? Shit, man. Yeah, we're gonna talk about how you know a lot of man. It's a lot of cold shit that existed before the 1400s. It's a lot of shit that existed. I got I got the whip moments lined up for us. So we're gonna let's give this interlude a shot real quick. Like think about it, how we have memories and we are so creative. All of these I know when you wake up in the morning, if you have some ingenuity, if you have some indigenous roots, if you can dream, you dare to dream, you think about, a lot of times when you're walking around in your different spaces and time, and you think about what feels familiar, what feels what you connect with, how you how sometimes depending on where you are, even geographically, it can change your mood. Sad, good. You can feel nostalgia. All these different type of variables that make you feel like, damn, um, I'm feeling some kind of way. But it doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's something that it's a reconnecting type of feeling that you get. So you understand that this overlay society that we live in, the world is very what you would call translucent at this point. See, the thing is, a lot of black people globally, a lot of melanated people have what you would call very long memories, and we come from very old people that has been written out of the current lexicons of history today. See, when you only go back 6,000 years and you say you want to cut it off, because that's what it has to do with, European esque or pale skinned, complected people or a conquest. And so they literally write stories that in their image of how they see the construction. But when you are a people, when you're melanated, you say, wait a minute. In the words of Dr. John Henry Clark, he said, when I was a boy, when I was in church, I used to see all of these white angels. And he said, I questioned God. I said, you mean to tell me there's no little black child stick up in the heaven? So everywhere he went in the world, he said, everywhere I went in the world, I knew that I had people and I knew I had to find them. So he knew essentially that just by the way he felt, me being melanated and me being in America, and there are so many melanated people in the Americas, how am I not indigenous to the Americas? And how do I not have a relationship with the melanated man in Africa? And if you look at the civilizations and the greatest, deepest civilizations in the Americas, you will see the parallels in the greatest, deepest civilizations in Africa. So you know there was a connection with civilizations as we know it of old, where we ran the world. Robin Walker wrote books. He's a Brit. But he even told you the blacks in the Americas are the strongest people on the planet and the strongest melanated people on the planet. And if anybody else had dared to challenge that type of people, they would wipe the floor with everybody. Why? Because look at the rest. Look at what the globe has put them through. Look at how many wars they won. It took 7 nations to defeat those people. You think they just came from Africa? That's not just so true. Those people had been there. Have you ever heard of the Mississippians? Have you ever heard of the mound builders? Have you ever heard of the Olmecs? Have you ever heard of the Maya? Have you ever heard of the Aztecs? Have you ever heard of the people that amalgamated there? The Americas was a ferocious land in the last beautiful drapings of Tartaria. This is Turtle Island. Yeah, the big island. Turtle Island, North America. See, this place is, you have to understand that a lot of the knowledge in the world, if not all of the knowledge in the world, from a very sacred meaning of knowledge and how to even build, came from the Americas. That's a hard for a lot of you to hear. But we had giants galore. We had some of the most biggest recorded giants. And we have the first mounds recorded on planet Earth. And we have the most pyramids recorded on planet Earth. Now, why do you have these things? Let me reverse my camera on TikTok. Why do you have things like this? Ancient America's lost giants. Y'all see that? I hope you do. Let's get into it. I shared it before, but sometimes we got to run some real live repeats so we can discuss and we can talk about other chapters and other things. Let's talk about where I'm from. In chapter 2, Giants of the Southeast, page 37. When the Spanish conquistadors came to the New World, they were expected to find gold, not deadly encounters with giants. Unfortunately, most of what the Spanish thought was gold turned into tumbaga, a mixed bronze alloy painted to look like the precious metal of conquistadors were so desperately seeking. In fact, the conquistadors would up finding more hardship than actual gold, and they plundered, murdered, and enslaved their way through the Western Hemisphere, all the name of God, looking for a spread of Christianity to the savages they encountered. Was their way of reconciling with the fact that they were destroying 1,000-year-old cultures. But the conquistadors were the marching armies of Spain, and the heads of Spain were interested in only one thing: gold. So imagine the shock, disbelief in the conquistadors upon their first encounters with giants. You must have been truly mind-blowing the sight to behold, since the average height of a Spaniard was around 5'4" at the time. Keep in mind that these giants were around 6 to 9 foot in height, making battles against them a very daunting task. The Spaniard encounters with giants were scared, as most of the natives were of normal size, but chiefs in certain tribes, indeed giants, they made these claims to keep certain giant bloodlines alive. In the archaic, to set the mystery, gene was passed down among the tribe's members ages ago. Some of these giant Indian chiefs were now the inheritors of the lost race of the red-headed giants who once minced copper on a Bronze Age shores at Lake Superior. With their forefathers already long buried, the great chief in the 1500s knew it wouldn't be long before their race could suffer the same fate, and the arrival of conquistadors signaled a certain doom. Conquistadors and explorer Palfelo of Narvaez had already conquered Jamaica and Cuba, but failed to capture native settlements in the sticky jungles of the northern Florida. He retreated back into the ports of Tampa Bay, and less than half his men survived, and no gold in sight. His men moaned with empty bellies in their marches back to shores. Those who survived were lucky enough to perish in the Florida jungle to get picked off by arrows flung from native archers. When a starving Narvaez finally made it to the harbor, he discovered that his ships had been banished with no option. He was remained soldiers and made shipwrapped and attempted to sail back to Cuba, but ran headfirst into the menacing storm and was never seen again. The last man to see Narvaez alive was Alvar Nunez Cabaza de Vaca, who was one of the only four men to miraculously survive the grudging expedition. After a harrowing 9-year journey that nearly killed him multiple times, Cabeza de Vaca published his amazing story in 1542, and it quickly became a sizzling Spanish bestseller. Cabeza de Vaca's story had all of the exciting elements found in pages turning classic, plus extra special ingredients such as battles and strange Florida jungles with giants. When we attempted to cross the large lake, we came under heavy attack from many giants, Indians, concealed behind trees. Some of our men were wounded, and in the conflict with these, good armor that war could not avail. The Indians had all their archers naked with large. They got naked and a larger body and appear at a distance as like giants. They are admirable proportion, very square and great active in strength. The bows that they use are thick as their arm, of 11 and 12 palms in length, which are discard of the 200 paces with the great precise miss nothing. Followed his footsteps and sailed with 9 ships to Tampa Bay with the intent of conquering Florida once and for all. As he ventured inland, they encountered various tribes, each with a giant that reigned as chief. The conquistadors kidnapped the chief and infiltrated local tribes, which each banded together to fight under the tomahawk of a giant chief, Capafi of the Apache. The uprising sparked in a war that lasted for weeks. De Soto eventually chased would be modern-day Tallahassee before the giant rebel. Hernando de Soto with giants continued. He pushed further inland with more than 600 men and 200 horses. Roger Rangel de Soto, private security, wrote about the mighty giant chief Tuscaloosa and the chief giant offspring who greeted to wary conquistadors as they marched into muggy Alabama, Rangel wrote. We reached a hamlet which thought rightfully under his scepter, off with treacherous armor, his lawful sway, his stubborn withstood. A giant monarch, Tuscaloosa, ruled the neighborhood kingdom and sowed abroad among the subjects of his brother disloyalty and discontent. Here came to meet up from the pathway of the west and a warrior naked of God, from heaven, scorn from the fleecy drapery of the clouds. Only upon his bow were the scarlet plums plucked from his iris, while his careless hand swayed in spirit lightly. Seeing him was paused, dumb with amazement, for, though but the young still at his April dolls, he towered over height, and in great length, talking to the town, where the first of monarchs talked, scribe, and court, and his uh, going up. People that science at the time, stuff like that. So these are actual accounts, real accounts. You should check this book out. This ancient American law, ancient law, giants and ancient lost. These are the that they keep coming because if you ever think about, it was like six, shit, I'm 6'2". Those my uncles and my dad, they're all giants. My grandfather, he was 6'2". My uncle about 6'2" and a half. He was a little tad bit taller than me. My little cousin Jonathan, he's 6'3", 6'4". He's a giant now. And if you talk about consideration, so we're all big people, very big people. You don't find these people in Africa. You're not as big as us. You guys are normally like 5'6" to 5'8", 5'10" at the most, and you're a little husky, way huskier. So, but in the Americas, we're normally somewhere between um, 175, 15, 6 foot. Some are 5'9". I mean, normal height of a black American man is probably about 5'9", 5'10", somewhere between that and 6'4". So I'm 6'2", so I'm right in the middle, just a little bit above just right in the middle. So that's how there was an ethnogenesis, but also how there's a whole hell of a lot more Aboriginal that's implanted here in the Americas. They said mounds. Mounds were the Mississippians and the Yamasees, and it's also recorded just by their writings how big and tall that we were. I just read it to you. So there you have it. You can't believe lies, and sometimes the books that a lot of Europeans study, they have to be deemed kind of vetted by their class of I would say whatever. I can't even use it. Some of them people are not educated in a lot of ways. They their whole academic sector is flawed because they have to see themselves entirely too much, and they don't really matter that much when it comes to the whole pantheon or even the lexicon of history. You don't take up but so much space. And the only space that you create is the space that you make up. It's not even real. So let's just be real. Let's get to some whip moments, my people. Let me see what my notes said. What my notes said. All right, here we go. The world's biggest hijack. The world's biggest hijack. What do y'all think it is? I want y'all to leave me some of those things in your comments. I want you to leave me in your comments. What do you think the world's biggest hijack was? For me, from a personal perspective, being that I am an Aboriginal, but do have you know, uh, all kind of shit, man. But from what I can recall and what I know about my history, is all Aboriginal. But there were a lot of people that did come to the Americas that I have, associated identity with. But those things vary when it comes to the constructs of how the structure. If you try to go to appealing to something that you're not, or even the white side, even in ancestry.com, you have to literally gain your percentages up, and we're talking about ancestry.com, in order to show the favor or your or the accuracy that raises up by who you're connected to. So that's where you get your accuracy from, and that shows your direct lines and your absolute family members from your mother, your father, and their mothers and their fathers, and so on and so forth. So when you have that, like me, directly accurate down to the source, that's how you know who you are. It's You can't go by what those numbers say, because those numbers are so faulty, fabricated, and it's also associated from the identity of a European-esque ideology or methodology in order to push what and how they see the world, vice to how the world actually is, because they made a lot of land. Let's call it this. They were the first mass human traffickers. When you figure out how to, when you're so diabolical that you will uproot people from everything that they know. Sound familiar? See, this is a trick that they used within the school of colonization. The school of colonization is uprooting people out of where their settlements are and pushing them to somewhere completely else. Completely somewhere else. And then, a lot of these people were into propaganda. So when propaganda is out, America says this is the land of the free, home of the brave. Come here, we'll take your sick, your poor. Basically, this was being broadcasted all over Europe to certain countries that they had favor with, who they liked, to basically populate the indigenous class of people that were here. And they did it on both flanks, making sure the people from the western flanks reached the east and the eastern flanks reached the west. This is their new country. This is the new world. This is how the world was supposed to view America, and this is the outcome. That's why it's the constant eraser of the Aboriginal class of people that been here before all these new people. I'm telling you, this is how the game goes. So when you see pale complected people, yes, all they know is America from the past 400 years. See, that's the 400-year moniker. White people know America from somewhere between 75 to 400 years. That's European-esque. That has nothing to do with Aboriginal blacks that been here before any Siberian or any person that came from the West that didn't even exist. You were brought on ships by the British. That's the facts. Those are the facts. Let me show you. Let me show you how you got here. Let me show you how you got here. And let me show you who was here before. But you specifically, I'm going to show you how you got here. Yes, indeed. Let's do a little research here, people. We love books, so we got right here. What we got here? In Plain Sight. Oh yeah, by Gloria Farley. In Plain Sight. We're gonna talk about some stuff tonight now. Then we got the Atlas of Indian Nations. Okay? The Atlas of Indian Nations. Let me show you. Now, look at the faces closely. Look at them faces now. The Atlas of Indian Nations. You see that? All right, we're gonna talk about that, and we're gonna also talk about, guess what? Now you see that, then you see the Indian Wars. Oh, buddy, when they brought those Siberians here, yeah, and some made up shit too. Yeah, how they get oh, it's gonna show you how they would it's all, and this is National Geographic. They don't want to believe that. Y'all don't want to believe that's National Geographic. Okay. All right, so let me move something aside here. Let's get something straight because I got another one I'm looking for too. Uh, are these two? Let me see. Let me look at this one. Let me check some shit out real quick. All right, here we go. We're gonna go to the south. Let me show you something here. We're gonna talk about Blackhawks. Tra- uh, Tragedy in the Western Great Lakes, the Black Hawk War. This is Black Hawk right here. They lighten them up, but you can tell that's what you call a copper cup aboriginal. You see what I'm saying? Ain't nothing white about him. See that? National Geographic. You see, ain't nothing. There you go. Ain't nothing white about him, buddy. Can y'all see that? Oh shucks. Let me do it like this. Oh man, hold on. Okay, I gotta do it like this over here. There you go. Black Hawk. All right. So you want to talk about, the copper color complected people here in the Americas? Now this is the Southeast: Biloxi, Catawba, Cherokee, the Chitimacha, Choctaw, the Casata, the Creek, Muskogee, the Seminole, and the Tanika. Boy, if that ain't the commonest looking lady. Okay, check out now. All right. Let me see. Check out now. All right, now check this lady out too. That's my grandmama. That's Willie Mae. Oh yeah, that's old Cherokee Powhatan. That's my grandmama. That's Willie Mae right there, y'all. You know what I'm saying? So you already see that's an Aboriginal. That's my mama's mama. You understand? So the Indians, yep. And then you got the Southeast Territory, all the way I'm from. Yes, indeed. Florida. You got to check out Billy Bowlegs. Check out how they got Billy Bowlegs looking right here. Oh yeah, he's an old black Indian. Look at that, Billy Bowlegs. Make sure y'all can see him. So it's why it's always good to have books. That way, I share this type of stuff with my child. You know what I'm saying? She gets to see all of these type of, her origins, who she is, what she is, and she gets to see all this. Moundville, Mississippi, the political and cultural center. Let me read you about Moundville because I got grandfathers from this place. This is very important for me. From the 9th to the 16th century, Indians in the southeast built numerous large villages and small cities, dominated with massive earthen mounds, and served as political, social, and ceremonial functions. Scholars had called their society Mississippian culture, and it gave birth to most of the tribal peoples of the southeast. In the heart of the Mississippi region, Indians built Moundville to present-day Alabama, and it soon became one of the most important cities in the entire area. Moundville was the second largest Mississippian urban center ever built, with the Cahokia, Illinois, it was it rival. The site covered more than 300 acres and included large wooden palisades, walls, and numerous mounds of political and social purposes. For more, reinforced had highly evolved clan based hierarchy. More than 1,000 people lived within the walls and sections of cities, and others 10,000 in immediate surrounding areas. They thrived on the corn agriculture and trade. Recent agricultural excavations and had uncovered numerous precious metals, shells, ports, statues, and works of art. Moundville swelled in residents and visitors for 5 centuries, longer than any city found in Europe. Immigrants in America longer than any founded by European immigrants in the Americas. So don't tell no one from the Americas we didn't do it first and do it better than anybody could ever do it, because we are the indigenous people that are here. Now, the community found a way to sustainable harvest, enough corn, wood, game, and maintain a population density, a remarkable accomplishment. Climate changes eventually pressured the sustainability of corn product to the same, and the population was forced to disperse. No, first in the Spain, and the new mound builders were sustained tribal populations in the South expeditions in 1540 to 1541. The Soto expedition, terrible disease outbreaks that dramatically reduced the tribal numbers, and the mound building era came to a close, and remaining members of the tribal population forced to survive and rebuilding. Today, Moundville is the site of a major archaeological excavation, museum, and cultural center. 2 large mounds and several smaller ones were funerary and sites have been excavated and cleared. Most of the material and presented in the museums, although the originated site and mound are impressive in their natural splendor. But the thing here we go, they cut me off again. We were reclassified. So being reclassified is what they would call DeSoto brought terrible disease and outbreaks of dramatically reducing the tribal numbers. That's called being reclassified. And they talk about England's first settlement in the Americas in the Sokotan and the Lost Colonies. Not lost, that was reclassifications. Okay, let's get to the next book. That's the Atlas book. Let's get into one of my favorite books, and that's this right, but In Plain Sight. This is a remarkable piece of work right here, ladies and gentlemen. Remarkable piece of work. It's the goddess of Inanna in Oklahoma. So check this out. The graven images. See, let me read something to you real quick. The goddess Inanna in Oklahoma. Inanna, an ancient Sumerian goddess of love, worshipped about 4,800 years ago in the territory in which now modern Iraq was certainly not expected to be found in Oklahoma. Her motif was not recognized when a 1.5-inch heavy black stone incised on the top surface was brought for my inspection in May 1989. They've been hiding this stuff this long, y'all. Check this out. It had been found near Shawnee Creek by an inmate of the grounds of the Ouachita Correctional Center in prison without walls near Hodgson in eastern Oklahoma. The patina within the grooves of the cravings was fully as a dark and smooth in the top surface, indicating that the inscription was of great age. A latex mold of photographs were submitted to fail. In his returning telephone call, he identified these marks as motifs and associated with Inanna. He had been studying the development of these audiograms from ancient Dolmunu. Due to the submission to him of a paper for publication on the topic, Ali Akbar H. Bashiri of Bahrain, the island of the Persian Gulf, had once been the site of the vanished city of Delmun, which was sustained between Sumer to the north and to the advanced civilization of the Indus Valley of the east. Hmm. Fell was told that I had noted a supporting link between Dalmud and the Mississippi Valley in the form of the southern cult motif of cresting and birds' heavens revolving in a circle. Bashiri had already published one example of the motif from Dulmun. Dulmun. This motif greatly resembled many from the southern states, considered Indian, and also an example of the spiral mounds, Oklahoma. You understand this? The southern coast is the name given to a series of mounds which extends mainly from Etowah, Georgia, north to Cahokia, Illinois, southern to Moundville. Let me make sure y'all can hear me. Damn, I ain't checked my. Did I check this yet? I think I did, but it ain't gonna be showing up right now. Let me see. Yeah, let me do the built-in output. Yeah, but check this out, man. So we're talking about what I'm trying to do is awaken my people's they mind. Wake. This is your history. This is who you are. This is some great stuff I'm trying to let you understand right here. This is why I chose to let you know the God is in Oklahoma, and then they'll tell you where it rooted from. So, Fail and I discovered a cuneiform tablet dug up in Georgia that was discussed in Mahan's book, Figures 648. They right here. They were previously discussed in the chapter, They Came in Ships. The text of the tablets allowed it to be dated 240,000 BC and showed that in place of origin was ancient Sumer. This jogged our memory on another small cuneiform tablet from Montana, on which Fell had published. Let me show you these cuneiform tablets of the Sumerians that was in the Americas. So if the Sumerians was in the Americas, Black Sumer was in the Americas. Oh man, it's so much. It's so many things we have to discuss on this show, and so many things you guys just don't know. But it's awesome. I got to see if I'm actually got volume on YouTube. Give me a second. I'll be right back. TikTok. Damn. Let me see if my show was playing music earlier. Let me check that shit out. Let me check it out. Let me check it out. Let me check it out. So many things we have to discuss. Since the average height of a Spaniard with these Soto private security. Oh yeah, yeah. I got volume. Just making sure I have volume, ladies and gentlemen. This is very important stuff. I did not want to miss out on. I did not want you guys not to hear what I'm telling you. So let me show you this so you can see this. This is the type of knowledge that this book entails. Let me get TikTok back up and running. My apologies, TikTok. I'm back, TikTok. But here it is. Let me show you. There you are. Those are the inscriptions right there. Let me show you. So you see, hold on, there they are. There they are right there. You see the verbiage? You see it? There it is. You see, there it is. There it is. This is some that's some serious stuff, man. This is some serious stuff. This is the type of things that have to be discussed, and how we have been forced to put in survival mode. To lose your memory, you get enslaved in your own homeland, destroyed, taken out of your rightful places with your connections and things of that nature. And all they wanted to be was the administrators and the landholders. But we have to wake up and get our memories back. And this book right here shows you the proof of the Tartarian, connected civilizations that are still here. We have memories, and those memories exist in our DNA, and that comes back to you. If you're paying attention, if you're really trying to seek the truth, if you really have a knack for seeking the truth and wanting the truth for yourself, when you understand what books to buy to verify, that's spiritual. That's like being surrounded by a lot of different Bibles that you value and love and appreciate, because it supplies you with so much information that it cures your curiosity. And it also allows you to know how fruitful this planet truly is if it were not for destruction and despicable people that were in the position to want to annihilate and displace and replace the original creators of all of the civilizations. I like to know that I like people to understand that had to do with melanated people around the globe. So, are we connected? Absolutely. We're absolutely connected. That's why it has to start. And that's why it always has to be respect, love, appreciation, valiance. What do you know about yourself and your homeland? And stop hating on me for being where I'm from. If you learn where your people have, from my family, like my people, they set fertile ground. They set fertile ground. So I love for my ancestors to be proud of my accomplishments, who I am, and what I have to do. So I hope you understand that, everybody in your DNA ain't the greatest, but from the people that you know are great, make them proud. Hell, make yourself proud. Do it for yourself, but also do it for the people that love you, and that's why you're here. You would not have your features, who you are, your mind, how you even conduct yourself, if it were not for your ancestors. You're the amalgamation of your ancestors. That's why we have all these wonderful gifts and capabilities, and we have this memory. This helps you jog your memory when you read about your lands, who you are. I was just reading about Georgia and Oklahoma, and people that I know are aboriginal to these places, and they still there. And I tell you, when people settle to where they're from, you can play musical chairs all you want. But some people that live in those bush remote locations, they the same people that's been there for forever. And I guarantee you, even the paler complected people will tell you who've been there before them. These are actual facts. This is not fabricated tales. I read no fabricated tales. Most of you have never even heard of this book by Gloria Farley, In Plain Sight. But you should check it out. It's a very expensive book. I own this book. I own all the books I don't check them out. These are books that I own. I purchase. These are mine. All mine. My stuff. My library, my stuff. This is what I do. So this is why you get books. You don't get a whole lot of, audio visual from me, because I own, I read, I enrich myself with the actual physical, um, physical book, the physical words, the pages. It's comforting because that's the way I grew up. Something tangible. People respect tangible. I'm cool with. I got a lot of ebooks and those type of things as well. I got a plethora of those things, but this right here, I'm very. I love reading books, and I like to show you how these things, reading books and understanding how these when people have let me explain how everything that I read to you. I'm going to show you something, because I think a lot of people have a problem with references, but I'm just going to show you some references, okay? We're going to always show you references before we get out of here. I know it's been 45 minutes. I'm running a little longer than normal because I have to break some things down. But let me read this to you right here because this is the graven images. But hold on. The old world religions, cults, and gods presented in the chapter are extremely diverse. But if the phrase of you could find a common among the people and represented, it would be let us worship. Okay. Of all the old world deities that I have recorded, and none dodged me through the years, as it did Tanit, the Carthaginian moon goddess. The next chapter is devoted to my encounters with her. And this is in the Americas. So the reason why you have to understand why this book in plain sight, it has, and I mean it has, the references. Check it out. Check out the reference. Yeah. So when I tell you people know, oh yeah, people know. We know. There's even more. I mean, there's even more. Man, it's an affinity for Tanit. Tanit. The history of religions reveals the panorama of gods and goddesses, higher and lower spiritual beings, amongst whom personification bears all the attributes of female sexuality and motherhood. Sometimes they paradoxically believed to be virgins, but from sometimes to be, yeah, virginal. Often it's still more paradoxically, they combine within themselves attributes of generosity and grace, and also those of horror and destruction. Ain't that a woman? This is about a woman. The affinity for Tanit. Tanit, who was also called Tanith, and Neith was a principal goddess of ancient Carthage. She seems to have followed me around for the past 20 years. Ancient Carthage. The fabulous city of Carthage was built in North Africa. We're going to say that for another day. We're going to say that for another day. But I just wanted you to understand that. Talking about a Carthage built in North Africa. Hold on. The land of Canaan. I do want to read this, but I got to say this for another day, man. It's going to show you some things about the Phoenicians. And we're going to also talk about how, the town of Carthage in the Mediterranean. And once again, Colorado. So we went from to Colorado. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you see there's a strong correlation there? Colorado. And I first met on a sizzling July on the day 1973 when Earl Sylveston and I were bullishly recording petroglyphs and inscribing her image was an extreme right. Would have passed her, but at his first glance, registered only one kind of stink figure, insisted among the design and the vertex was stone slab under a protective overhaul. but several features, intriguing figures. 7 through 9, 7, 7, 5. She appears in a female because her natural pro protuberance in the stone had been utilized as a breast, and she was squared off dressed. Both arms were held in a body in which her forearm upwards and her right hand grasped and upon and objects as it was fitted as important. 25-inch figure somehow conveyed the majesty and authority. At her left knee, she was some kind of unreadable lettering. Not knowing what the image held, not knowing what image was that filled the tracing, languishing for 2 years, but until 1975 was part of the first group of recordings in the site submitted directly by Dr. Barry Fell. These were set to the request in another record and script of mine and had been sent to him by own mutual friend, Dr. George Carter of Texas A&M University. Fell's letter stated, again, congratulations to the heartfelt thanks to the privilege of being able to see us extraordinarily refined, the largest goddess figure in the Colorado in the sun goddess, Tanat, pronounced Tanith, spouse of Baal, and peculiar to Carthage and Cadiz. As usual, the head of the sun disk and both arms raised, and she holds a loop to the Phoenician word for the sun disk. As usual, she draped as a doll-like curtly representing dress. This is the first known representation of the Mediterranean divinity in the Americas, labeled as his name. Congratulations on an epoch making discovery. I had to get that out. I had to show that last. I had to read you through that last because you got to understand America is the old world. We'll be reading more of In Plain Sight so that you understand this book is full of findings that predates a great deal of the East. Y'all better stay tuned to the Wilderness Podcast. I'm coming with it. I'm coming with it all. So anyway, that's the show tonight, man. I love you guys. I appreciate you tuning in. Thank you so much. I hope you really tune into this show. I've just given you a great deal of information that you have to understand. This came from the Americas. So I had more whip moments that I wanted to get to real quick. So now the next whip moment, like, God damn, I gotta finish the whip moments. All right. The master thief. You cannot believe certain information that y'all have learned in these diabolical school books that was written by Ghislaine Maxwell's father. Yeah, that was his orchestration. See, these people have been in the game a long time, lying about everything, rewriting history, rewriting everything, and making everything so difficult and destructive. So that's y'all keep reading them Ghislaine Maxwell daddy books if you want to, but that shit ain't history. That's lies. All right, that's what we call it, the master thief. The world's worst orchestrates. The world's worst orchestrates are the thieves, the people that took the totalitarian governments and funding and the banking and all of the things that made us great. They turned it into a capitalistic apparatus that they can destroy, annihilate, and stay rich and keep everybody else poor. That's why they keep on enslaving and participating in enslaving and destroying and evaluating and denying and shifting peoples, because that's how they operate. But you have to understand, we have to reach beyond these type of parables to see what they're actually doing, because we can control these things if we just pay attention. Just pay attention. A taker, not the innovator or the inventor. See, the people that are rich and have all of the luster and all the money, these are the takers. These are not the innovators. These are not the inventors. These are the orchestrators of horrible likenesses. They just take us. And then they put it in front of your face and shit like Shark Tank, stuff like that. Because they want to enterprise. They want to, I got to make some money too. And they act and they say it as if they're poor or broke. And they, well, I got to get some out of it. You just can't help somebody, can you? No, that's not a capitalistic taker society works. You know, the thing is, there were much better systems in place before this stolen cosplayed, overlay, destructive, despicable, foolish system that's in place today that people actually love buying into. Let's get to the next one moment. I got to make them fast. I'm getting tired. I'm not getting tired at all. I'm just going to, I got things to do. The ones who told the world a lie. Yeah, the next woman is the ones who told the world a lie. We know who they are. That's why I continue to expose, because people know what they have read and they know what I'm reading is completely different or totally disassociated from what you thought was true. I challenge you to pay $260 for a book that tells the truth in the physical form. Yeah, that's what I collect. Books and read. I hope you understand that. Okay, the institution of ill repute. That's these Ivy League universities that Aboriginals built, the smartest, the lies that were told to them. When you just, oh my goodness, this whole. Sometimes I say things in my head that I don't say outside of my mouth. So let me slow up and just let me do that, because it just happened. So I got to get it out. Okay. See, the problem is people that overlay for extended a period of time, they start believing their lies. But it creates a very strong weakness. It's cognitive dissonance, and cognitive dissonance is absolutely tied with inferiority. See, these people would prefer to bathe and bath in the lie than to tell the truth to actually gain some insight. You would actually want to bathe and bath in your lie than to gain insight and actually how to learn and be a part of society. But you can't do that because you want to be on top. See, that's the problem. That's the problem. Therein lies the problem, right there. Um, See, the reason why uh, successful people are successful is because they listen, they interpret, and they use their tools to go forward in life. But they have a lot of help, a great deal of help. See, a lot of intelligent, wonderful, brilliant Black people do not get the opportunity because of the placed value on their lives. The reason why we don't get those opportunities is just simple. Just like as simple as it is because of how we look or how we sound or how we make other people feel. It doesn't make it true. It doesn't make what they're saying valid. It's just how they feel. But in all actuality, every time I'm on a job, I do a good job. Or everything I start, I try to do a valiant, do it service. Put your time, energy, effort, love, and desire, your passion. Put all of your energy and efforts into it, and do it all you can until you can't do it anymore. That's how life goes when you want to be successful at something. I mean, hell, look at me. A lot of people don't even watch this show yet like I want them to. I wish they would. I hope it grows. But all I can do is keep doing what I'm doing. But I'm not. You're not gonna see me ever. This is therapy, so you're never gonna see me sell myself short or do anything to make you watch me more. You like me, you like me. You don't, you don't. I can't control that, but I can control, the content that I put out, what I say, and what I mean. And even when sometimes what I say I don't mean when it comes to offending people, I don't ever want to be offensive to anyone at no point in time. But keep in mind that on the Will This podcast, we are akin to going into directions and reading information that is very uncommon because of the amount of information that I have invested into myself and that I can show and share and display. So I would appreciate it if you share, love, and like, um, discuss, leave comments. I need you guys to leave the comments on the Wilderness Podcast. I'd appreciate that as well. But continue to watch the long shows, the long version of the shows. I would appreciate that so much. That would make me happy because it increases my watch hours. And I'm funding this by myself. You see, I don't ask you for much at all. I really don't. But if you go to the wilderness podcast.com and check out the merch, check out some